Hey, cinema aficionados, Dan Patton, Screen Magazine. Thanks for joining me. We got a great guest today who's going to talk about The Blacklight, which is a film partially shot in Illinois that begins streaming on multiple platforms on October 1st. The Blacklight is a story about an ancient artifact of immense supernatural power that gets unleashed by a trio of bros on a robbery kick. It falls into the hands of a bloodthirsty cokehead, gets stolen by a local mob chief, and inspires a really creepy hitman before being returned to its original resting place within the bowels of a secret, highly ritualistic cult. Unfortunately, the responsible leader, who normally keeps a lid on the object's potentially catastrophic power, has been murdered. A lot of people in this film are murdered, and that's part of its charm. There is also an incredibly talented ensemble cast, a really tight script, dialogue that is often hilarious, and superior production values. It is kind of like Goodfellas meets Harry Potter with characters who could fit right into the Big Lebowski.
We just sneak right in there and take whatever we want. I'm telling you, man, this guy is as boring as cardboard, okay? He's an archaeologist or something.
Inside every living thing in this world, there exists the deep glow.
We'll need another guy.
Danny, meet Kid Viper.
What are you, a cartoon character?
He's just teasing.
No, he's funny. I kind of want to tease his face.
Okay, whoa. That's not going to be necessary, all right? Because we're all friends here, right, guys? And we're going to be making each other a lot of money.
Some wish to feed it, but it can never be filled. It only grows brighter and brighter, seeping through every pore, burning all that it touches. Our family has always, and will always, fight to starve it. And that is why that box must never, ever be opened.
And on that note, let's say hello to the Blacklight producer who's joining us today, Don Hatton. How are you, Don?
I'm fine, thanks.
What did you think of the script when you first saw it and everything that was involved? And what made you think that writer-director Nick Snow could actually get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with Nick for quite some time. And for people who don't know, we're cousins. And we had started Dashford Media back in 2010. So we had been working with a lot of the cast members from the Blacklight in a comedy sketch show that we did called The Short Show in New York. And so we knew a lot of we had really cast the script already. Nick had cast the script as he was writing it, basically. So we knew that as we had worked with these actors before, we knew, what their strengths were and also, the things that they could pull off as actors as well. So they're highly comedic, but also have a dark side to them, so we knew it was going to work well. But yeah, as I was reading the script, Nick had sent me the script and he had been developing that with Brooks Russell, who was also on The Short Show and plays Liam in the movie. It became funnier and funnier as we're going through it. And again, there's dark humor. Bad things do happen, but there's a lot of humor associated with it as well. So it's a good balance.
Okay, I'm out of my mind. Let me tell you something. Whatever I find in that box belongs to me, okay? Because I got it with my own two hands.
You can shove that box up your ass.
I don't need your permission to shove it up my ass.
Excellent. Yeah, there's one element in this, which is like the magic of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And as an audience member, you think like, what? But the funny thing is the characters react the exact same way that you do as an audience member, which really makes it comfortable, and familiar. So that's partially credited to Nick. as a writer director, I guess to ask, is he kind of crazy is pretty much something we'll take for granted. But what is so compelling about his particular brand of craziness?
You know, he was director of photography for most of the film as well. And, you know, the shots that he would choose to give a certain vibe to the scene were just amazing. And I was there for probably, I don't know, 95% of the filming that we had done for the movie. I was on location. We wanted to make the script the story believable. So not like this crazy supernatural over the top thing, but almost as a matter of factly occurring in the film. So it was like, oh, whoa, that's cool. And it just happens. And you're then to that next level, to that next.
I think you guys took a lot of the what makes a cheesy cult film really endearing, and actually took those components and put them into an actual really good movie and pulled it off. And there's a lot of really well choreographed fight scenes and the gunplay. I mean, a lot of work here, really nicely done. What were the challenges that you faced as producer?
One of the biggest challenges is the budget, you know, so as you're moving along, and that's why it took us around 5 years to get the film done, because, you know, when we started it, we kind of looked through it and said, oh, wow, this could cost a lot of money if we did all these things. So we had a lot of people, we had a lot of locations, and all that adds up to a lot of money. So the actors that we work with, most of them are really good friends of ours, and they're all working actors. So part of the deal to keep the budget down was to work with their schedules. Right? So we had 2 cast members who were actively hosting a travel show for an airline. Yeah, and to get everybody in the same place at the same time was a miracle, really.
Some of your key locations that you found were right here in Illinois, near your hometown of Rockford, and I'm sure you coordinated that with the director of the Northwest Illinois Film Office, Mr. Gary Camerano, who's also listening in on us today. Tell us about the castle.
So I had known about Stronghold Castle for, you know, most of my life. I had grown up in the area around Oregon, Illinois. I grew up in Byron, and I knew it was there. And I'd met a friend of mine who was staying there at the time. She was working with the Chamber of Commerce in Oregon, and asked if I would want to take a tour of the castle. It blew me away because it fit perfectly with what we needed. And here we were, you know, all over the East Coast trying to find this place that we could use that would do the trick. And the castle was almost meant to be, it was almost written into the script specifically. We didn't want it to be this, you know, highly refined, you know, really nice castle. It was meant to be a little bit, you know, rough around the edges, you know, used. We actually stayed on site. So I had Michael Dalen, who was a British actor. He was in, and then we had flown in some of the other actors from New York and LA. So when you want to pick things up at night or in the day or whenever, it's just much easier. But so along with that, you know, Stronghold was kind enough to feed us as well. So they had made us breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day.
Now, speaking of the cast, you mentioned a lot of them, and they all turned in great performances. Really, really kind of unbelievable. So I'm going to talk about one in particular, and that is Richard Templeton, who plays the psychotic hitman named Lucky, and pretty much steals every scene in which he appears.
Are you scared, Danny?
No.
Seem scared.
I'm not.
Then close those little peepers.
Were you familiar with his presence before you cast him?
Yeah, absolutely. I've known Rich now. He was on the short show as well.
And he's a comedian. Where do you guys see this guy is so creepy, man? Just your eyes are glued to him and you're kind of freaked out. And then I look up his bio and the guy's a comedian.
Yeah, and you know, the great thing is he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He's amazing. And it's so funny because people see him, and you know, when we were in theaters, people would see him in the movie and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, he's such a creepy villain kind of character. And then, if they had the chance to meet him again, he's just the nicest, most laid back guy. But when he has to turn it on, he turns it on. He does a lot of improv as well. So he's a regular improv actor in New York City. And he and Brad Stewart are actually together, Brad, who plays Gregor. And sometimes you don't know whether, do you like the guy? Do you hate the guy? Or are you scared of him? Or, what's going
Bingo,
on?
you're definitely scared of him.
Yeah.
You're such a tricky little trickster, aren't you, Danny? You always think you're a step ahead of me, but now you have a problem. And the problem is, I saw it.
So we have the location, obviously really high production values, as I said, and a great cast. Now let's talk about the other element that makes this pretty much appear to be a high budget blockbuster, and that is the music. Where'd you find the music? How did it evolve from the very beginning?
Yeah, so Ryan McTeer is the composer for the soundtrack, and he had seen our trailer, I believe, and he reached out to me. There was something about his message that was like, I need to check this guy out. And I looked up one of the pieces that he had composed and was blown away. I was like, I called Nick right away, and I was like, man, this guy is right, in line with what we want. He's already writing this style of music. Yeah, it was kind of just a Baroque classical style, a great contrast to what we were doing with the visual aspect of the film. So, and he was already working with the Budapest Symphony Orchestra and said, yeah, I want to write. We needed that other person to be that way and quickly jump into things and understand where we were coming from. And he did right away. He got it right away. And, we actually made a mini documentary on the making of the soundtrack that we'll be releasing as well.
My name is Ryan McTeer, and I'm the composer of the film Blacklight. Blacklight is a genre-bending movie which revolves around this mysterious evil object.
That box must never, ever be opened.
Creating music for the film was a huge process. It spanned many, many months. The soundtrack really is quite eclectic. The director, Nick, he really knew the feel he wanted. The genres are quite varied, from classical opera, which I actually wrote, to 70s horror rock, all the way to this just very hellish kind of music.
Yeah, the power of a screeching violin is not to be underestimated, especially in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you kind of released the film right in the throes of the lockdown, but it did enjoy a theatrical run and it has played a few festivals. What has the audience reaction been so far? And why don't you brag a little bit about the accolades?
Yeah, so I think one of the first festivals that we attended in person was the Julian Dubuque Film Festival. Nick and I would go there and we did Q&A and get feedback, and people were just kind of blown away, really. And it was surprising. You never know what to expect, right? So then I think the next one was the New York City Independent Film Festival, and that's where we got noticed by our current distributor, Porter Craig. It was amazing. People they didn't know what to expect. They knew we had been working on this stuff and they'd seen other things from Nick and I, or Nick, and didn't really know what to expect from a feature film. After our theatrical run, we were actually nominated for Best American Film and Best American Actor in the Septimius Awards, which are kind of the Oscars for Europe. in the Netherlands.
Which cast member are they referring to when they say
So that was Grant Lancaster. He plays Danny. So he's basically out of the ensemble cast. He's the lead cast member throughout the film. So Nick and I flew over to Amsterdam in June and attended, the red carpet and the black tie affair. And we really, to be honest, we purposely didn't look up the other films that we were up against. We were up for Best American Film, which means North America and South America. So it's not just the United States, it's the Americas. So we really didn't want to look into it too much. We didn't want to check out the other films. We just wanted to kind of be surprised. We were there in the company of films, by David Lynch. But in our category for Best American Film, we were up against American Trader, which Al Pacino stars in. We were probably the lowest budget film by far.
And again, it does not appear to be a low budget film.
Yeah.
And God bless low budget films. Hey, I'm involved in them, but
it's key in finding those locations and securing the right locations. But then there's that balance of, what could we get by with? Like we need to get this done. What do you need to keep the lights on and keep everybody paid? We don't want to hurt anybody, but we need to, that was the majority of my work as the executive producer, was really finding those locations and negotiating those locations and securing them, and then securing the transportation logistics associated with that to get it done. So
when you got to watch the film with an audience, was there a moment, the first time you saw it and other people were present, was there a moment at which you were reassured that this is going to work, that they're getting it, audience reaction, certain scene or a joke or something?
Yeah, there are things written into the script, and you watch it and you're filming it and you think it's funny, and when you're on set, everybody thinks it's funny, but then you get to show it to other people, and that's the real key, right? Is are other people going to think it's funny? And there were moments where it was like, oh, yes, they got it. Because you're worried about people getting maybe lost in the story or too involved in trying to figure things out versus just experiencing the film and being able to laugh at things. So we were welcomed there at the AMC theaters. We were in select theaters across the nation, and we were getting great feedback from that. A lot of great reviews from critics.
When I'm watching this, I'm thinking like, what influenced these guys? Blue Velvet was one of the things that crossed my mind. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Pulp Fiction, and of course that classic Phantasm from the 70s. And at that point, I was like, this is just a uniquely, Nick Snow, Dashford Media film.
Yeah, people will see even during the film, in one of the scenes, we have another film playing in the background that we had to shoot ourselves. We made that movie.
Okay.
So, and that was really a nod to Dario Argento, which is, one of Nick's favorite filmmakers as well.
Now, where are people going to be able to watch it?
Really, the big ones are probably Amazon Prime for now and Vudu. We've partnered with them and look forward to releasing with those guys. So, and that'll be for Q1, I think we plan to run with those. And then Q2, we're going to extend that out to other platforms.
This is a thriller. It's hilarious, and it's definitely worth 2 hours of your time. And it is an accomplishment, partially made right here in Illinois. And thanks, Don. That's Don Hatton, the Blacklight producer, a film which begins streaming on multiple platforms on October 1st. I'm Dan Patton with Screen Mag. Thanks for checking in.
When you look at me, what do you see?
I see a very annoying naked rich kid.
Exactly.